You know what? Why not? This will make for a fun episode, so let's do it. Hey guys, welcome back. I was thinking about it for a while ever since preseason, and now that we have 2 new dragons added to the game, how about we go into some lighthearted table conversation? And by that I mean let's get into some game design and theory crafting discussion. Ever since the elemental dragons were added to the game back in season, I think 6, what was once an optional side quest of sorts that players could go after whenever nothing was happening, now became an integral part in advancing the game state of a match. There were the 4 elemental drakes, Infernal, Mountain, Cloud, and Ocean, that would provide a permanent stat bonus to the team that brought it down. Said bonuses would correspond to the dragon's elemental theme. Water was about healing, Cloud was about speed, Mountain was about defense, Infernal was about offense. Alongside the 4 drakes would be the Elder Dragon, spawning usually late into the game, and the buff it gave went through a lot of different iterations, ranging from amplifying your existing dragon bonuses to now executing enemies under 20% health. Starting season 10, the dragons would influence the game far beyond a passive bonus. After 2 dragons have been slain, the entire Summoner's Rift would transform based on whatever the 3rd dragon was, and remain that way in perpetuity until the match ended. Additionally, whichever team slew 4 dragons first would secure the Dragon Soul buff of whatever the rift was imbued with, giving an even stronger buff that would usually be the deciding factor of a match, as no matter which Dragon Soul buff you got, your team would statistically have at least an 85% chance of winning the game. Although that might be misleading considering the fact that most teams who get the soul are likely in control of the game even before that happens. Since then, securing dragons was a matter of utmost priority now that they're game-changing buffs and not a minor quality of life boost. Their influence occasionally overshadows even the Baron, who originally held the mantle of the game-winning objective in the late game. With Preseason 12 now well underway, there are 6 elemental dragons in the game, each with their own buff, their own elemental rift, and their own soul. I want to rank them in order based on those 3 aspects, not entirely by how strong they are, but how well they influence the game and how well I think they're designed. I think this list might surprise a lot of you, so let's begin. Starting from last place, we have the Infernal Dragon. Yes, despite being the Dragon Soul almost every team wants to have, I believe it's the worst designed dragon in the game. Not saying the Infernal Dragon itself is badly designed, but compared to the other 5, it is no longer the best elemental drake since the glory days of giving 24% bonus AD at 3 stacks. First, let's look at the buff. Infernal Might provides the team with 4% bonus attack damage and ability power for each stack, capping at 16. Makes sense given it's the fire dragon and fire is associated with power. The Infernal Soul doubles down on the damage motif by periodically causing your next attack or damaging ability to deal bonus damage in an explosion around the target area. With a cooldown of only 3 seconds, it's a very consistent DPS improvement and can even help tanks do more damage as it scales with bonus health alongside attack damage and ability power. Given that Dragon Souls are obtained no earlier than 20 minutes, by that point you can reasonably expect to do an extra 120 to 150 bonus damage with each proc. No laughing matter for a buff that lasts forever. As for the Rift, that's where the benefits start to go away. The Infernal Rift is my least favorite one out of the 6, as while 10 new blast cones are added to various parts on the map, it ends up removing more stuff. All brushes surrounding the red and blue buff are completely burned away, as well as destroying 2 walls, creating new pathways through the 4 jungle quadrants. Additionally, the Dragon Pit has its entry walls destroyed, making the pit more accessible and therefore visible. Depending on who you're playing, this can be seen as a good or bad thing. I'm sure champions with no dashes very much appreciate the increased traversability of the Infernal Rift, but what it does is increase your field of vision, lowering the importance of vision control since there's less fog of war and blind spots on the map. I'm no Rengar one-trick, losing places to jump from is not the issue. In fact, I'm a bruiser main, I want nothing more than just an honest 1-to-1 confrontation. But when you take away walls and brushes, you're diminishing the significance of positioning and vision. That, and other than the burning motif, destroyed walls don't exactly speak to a fiery theme. I'm aware that introducing hazards is not something Riot would do, and I agree with that stance, but there has to be a better way to implement a fiery rift because this isn't it. Also, did you know that Infernal Dragon Soul is actually the lowest win rate soul in the game? That's mostly because when you're that late into the game, extra damage doesn't really matter since everyone gets one-shotted anyway. But yeah, Infernal Rift is the worst one of the 6 in my opinion. Up next is the Mountain Dragon, who shares a lot of the same issues as Infernal Drake, just to a lesser degree. I always looked at the Mountain Drake as the middle child of the 4. I know that analogy only works in 3 children families, but bear with me. It's that dragon no one really cares about. Not in the sense that it's bad, but you know, it's just unremarkable, it's average. Mountainous Vigor grants your party 6% bonus armor and magic resistance per stack up to a cap of 24. An interesting thing to note about this one is that it used to be something completely different. The Mountain Drake used to give you bonus true damage to objectives like Dragon, Baron, and turrets. Believe me when I say this is a huge deal. A team with even 2 Mountain Drakes would be able to shred Baron and towers so fast, even if the team itself was pretty lousy at taking them. Because it was a more macro-focused buff and not a combat one, I prefer the old one a lot more than just being a little bit tankier. Anyways, onto the Soul. Mountain Soul would periodically give you a shield that would last until it's broken, regenerating after not taking damage for 5 seconds. Much like Infernal Soul, it gives you a flat combat advantage against the enemy team by making everyone on the team tankier. This combined with the bonus armor and magic resist of at least 2 stacks would augment the survivability of even squishy champions by a considerable margin. Otherwise, that's really all it does. The Mountain Rift though is a lot better than the Infernal. Instead of removing terrain, it rearranges it, opening up multiple pathways while maintaining Fog of War. In all honesty, the Mountain Rift is my favorite rift, but I rank it second to last because of the dragon buff and the soul. It's just kind of bland. Like I said, I would rather the dragon add some sort of macro element to the game instead of taking less damage. The rift is awesome though, it's essentially Infernal Drake but better. Although I'd argue they could have been a bit more ambitious with the terrain transformations instead of, just putting a big rock in the middle of each jungle quadrant. Let's go to the Ocean Dragon next. For the longest time ever, people viewed this dragon as the best of the 4. I somewhat agree with that if it weren't for the buff itself. Oceanic Will constantly regenerates a portion of your missing health every 5 seconds up to 10% at max stacks. This is the weakest individual dragon buff in the game because periodic regeneration is only good early on when lifesteal, healing, and resources are limited, but 2.5 missing health is barely 10 to 15 HP for most champs at that time. However, they can't raise the numbers any higher than that because free unconditional health regeneration is a very dangerous privilege to give to one team. Fortunately, the Dragon Soul is a heck of a lot better. Whenever damaging an enemy, you restore health and mana over 4 seconds with only 30% effectiveness on minions and monsters. It's safe to say this is one of the best souls in the game. In League of Legends, you ideally want to recall as little as possible since while you're in base, your pressure is non-existent out there, and the 2 causes for recalling are to buy items or to restore your health. The latter not so much a good reason to do so. With the Ocean Dragon Soul, your staying power is extended indefinitely, meaning the only way the enemy team can get you out of the map is by bursting you down. Ocean Soul opens the door to a new win condition, slow and steady war of attrition. With one side persistently regenerating health and mana, they can eventually push back the enemy team and take down objectives. In some ways you can see Ocean Soul as a combat boost, but the way it does is predicated on a certain playstyle, which is why I like it a lot more. That and, it's kind of overpowered. As for the Ocean Rift, it's okay I guess. Essentially what it does is make honey fruits grow in more spots around the map, add puddles of water to form in the jungle, grow new brushes around the map and make existing ones bigger, to the point where they completely obscure your line of sight. By the way, the puddles aren't just aesthetic, they can actually interact with water-based gameplay elements like Kiana's River Terror shape and the Water Walking rune, which I recently discovered while doing research, so that's cool. Aside from the Rengar one-tricks who get off on this map, it's pretty decent. Honey fruits are kind of lame for plants because they just heal you, but I understand why they're there since Ocean is about healing. I wish they did something more dramatic though, like cause the rivers to flood and create a current that would change direction every so often, which would make you move faster in one direction but impede your movement in the other. Taking the 3rd place spot is one of the new ones, the Hextech Dragon. I kind of have mixed feelings about this one. See, on one hand, the Elemental Rift is a cool concept and I like the type of buff it gives, but it suffers from the same sort of problems as Infernal and Mountain Soul in a way. Let me elaborate. Hextech Prowess grants you bonus attack speed and ability haste up to a cap of 20 each. An interesting combination for sure, and on stats that aren't as concrete as attack damage or armor. I'm a sucker for cooldown reduction though, but who isn't? Come on. For the soul, much like Infernal Soul, every so often your next attack or damaging ability deals Chain Lightning true damage to up to 3 enemies that also slows them. Note that the intensity of the slow is the scaling metric and not the true damage, which is fair, I mean bonus true damage is already good on its own. Basically, it's Infernal Soul with more range and slowness in place of less overall damage. To be frank, I was expecting something a little more abstract. It's Hextech, and the best thing they could have thought of was damage and a slow. They were able to pull off something crazy for the Rift, so I failed to see how they can't do something like that for the Soul. Speaking of the Rift, the Hextech Rift is the most confounding of its kind. 6 pairs of Hextech gates spawn throughout the jungle and each base that essentially allows you to fast travel from one point to another, almost like Rek'Sai tunnels. No fundamental changes otherwise. At a glance, they may not seem like much, but being able to transport yourself from one side of the river to the other can allow for interesting flanks. You can think of them as bigger blast cones in a sense. That brings us to the conundrum though. While it's no doubt an interesting portrayal of Hextech in action, I feel like it's kind of the lamest rift of the 6 dragons. You might be asking me why did I rank it up so high? And my answer is that the things that are added to the Rift are really freaking cool, but adding more tunnels to address this is far from a good idea. As mentioned before, we don't want to trivialize map rotations and positioning. The Hextech tunnels they added were strategically put in place to give you ease of access, not really to save time. So they would have to do something else. Maybe Hextech fields almost like Skarner's Spire, where you can activate them to boost your team's attack speed and ability haste even further. After all, the Chemtech Rift provides you with a 10% bonus damage buff even if you have no Chemtech Drake stacks, so there already is an example of that. In general, the Hextech Dragon is good, it just, could use a little more. Okay, I'm about to get burned at the stake in the comments for this one, but screw it, this is the hill I'm gonna die on. The Cloud Dragon is the second best dragon in the game. Now, don't all of you take up your torches, pitchforks, and cotton candy just yet. Let me explain. The Cloud Dragon has routinely been ridiculed for being the most useless dragon in the game, and at times I can sort of see why that's the case. Before, it used to give you bonus movement speed out of combat before giving you ultimate cooldown reduction. Now it's back to out of combat movement speed, but the point remains the same. The Cloud Drake has the best individual dragon buff out of the original 4. 10% ultimate cooldown is a heck of a lot more impactful than 4% bonus AD or 2.5 missing health regeneration. And even now, 3.5% out of combat movement speed and slow resist can make you move around the map a little bit faster. If you manage to get at least 3, you're talking 10% bonus movement speed, that's a pair of completed boots. The Cloud Dragon Soul is busted. First, you get an unconditional 10% bonus movement speed, which is fantastic. Second, when casting your ultimate, you get a staggering 60% bonus movement speed buff on top of that lasts for 6 seconds. Think of how many champions benefit from blitzing down the enemy team with ultimate. Let's just look at the top lane for instance. Dr. Mundo, Shen, Urgot, Trundle, Kled, Tryndamere, Nasus, Jax, Riven, Singed, Vladimir, Kayle, Fiora, Pantheon. Do I need to say more? A good 9 out of 10 champions become infinitely more terrifying with Cloud Dragon Soul because of how much movement speed they get and for how long. It opens up so many possibilities in team fights and boosts your rotation speed for macro plays. It would have been the best soul in the game if not for Chemtech. But in contrast, the Cloud Rift is kind of average. I mean, it's not bad, but much like the Ocean Rift, I feel like they could have played around with changing weather, such as wind currents that make you move faster in one direction but slower in another, rather than just a flat speed boost while in the area. Not bad by any means though, it still allows for rotational plays. Last and most certainly not least, we have Chemtech Dragon. Let's not waste any more time and get right into the nitty gritty. Chemtech Blight grants you 5 to 20% bonus damage against enemies with more current health than you, so the lower your health is compared to theirs, the more pain you can dish out. Obviously, this dragon is not as useful when you're ahead since you'll have more HP most of the time, but that's a good thing. Unconditional benefits are exactly what brought this game into such a snowball-centric state that it's in. And it's also why Ocean, Mountain, and Infernal Drake give such small bonuses because they would be broken if they were any higher. The Chemtech Soul is the most unique soul in the game, a Scion passive while being able to use your abilities, so even if you get caught out or CC'd and locked down, you have a second chance to do something if you make it count. The enemy team has to keep their guard up even after they take you down the first time, but it's not exactly free benefits either. In my Death Passes video, I called it an infinite value passive, in that it can potentially do far more than any other soul, or it might do nothing at all depending on the situation. That said, by the time you see this video, the Chemtech Dragon Soul will have been nerfed or is in the process of getting nerfed. I'm not sure when I'll upload this yet, but as of November 30th, the team with Chemtech Soul wins 91% of their games in contrast to Infernal Soul's 86%. That's a very substantial disparity. I mean, if you think about it, you have to kill every member on the enemy team twice, which is no easy task. It is kind of broken, but not without counterplay, which is why I love it. The Chemtech Rift is also interesting. I'm not a fan of stealth and neither are most of you guys, but I've always valued vision control and the macro side of League, so keeping those entry points secure presents an interesting new set of interactions. I don't like how it completely removes all brushes though, and no, once again not because of Rengar, not exclusively anyway. I just don't like it when things are taken out of the Rift because everything is put in place for a reason. I don't really see any need to improve the Chemtech Rift because it kind of serves its purpose. At the very least, both teams become camouflaged, so whichever player and by extension team utilizes it better deserves to win. So that's the list. Aside from Chemtech Drake, I feel like all dragons could use a little something more to their elemental rifts because they're a very central part to a game's experience now. Not saying they don't do enough as is, but there's more potential to it that can allow for more strategies and options than just plain Summoner's Rift. Let me know down in the comments what your dragon rankings would be, and if you think there can be improvements or reworks to the buffs, the souls, or the rifts, feel free to share that as well. For the time being, if you enjoyed the video, it would be awesome if you gave it a like, subscribe to the channel for more content like this, also consider checking out my second channel where I do discussions for other games besides League. Apart from that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, join my Discord server, and check out my other videos if you haven't yet. But until next time, thank you all so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.